All right, everybody.
All right.
Podcast with Rick and Rae at their house. Rolling.
Good.
Awesome.
It's live.
I'm gonna have some coffee.
Yeah. Get your energy level up.
Okay.
Awesome. Well, welcome everybody to A Little Perspective. My name is Pranav and I'm joined with my co-host Nikhil. And today we have a very special episode for you guys with Rick and Rae. How are you guys doing today?
Doing great.
Good. Yeah.
Yeah.
Outstanding. Thanks.
Yeah. Well,
Thanks for
I guess
being here.
besides the weather, I think this is perfect. Perfect venue. So thank you for hosting us first of all.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And so you guys, we'll just basically get started the podcast with you guys giving a brief introduction about yourself. We'll get the ball rolling and have an amazing conversation starting there.
Awesome. Why don't you start?
I like when you start.
Well, hi, my name is Rick. We're. The background is we're both Yorkton kids that knew each other back in the day in high school, kind of, and went our separate ways and found each other again later in life on that outstanding dating app called LinkedIn. I'm not sure if you're familiar with it, but you can stalk your exes and they don't know. We just got ourselves back together, got married in 2018, and that's the personal background. From a career background, I went and got my university degrees in engineering and computer science. I went straight into sales at IBM and never looked back. So stayed away from the technology side of, other than being in technology,
Right.
in the sales and marketing. I never pursued the actual fingers on keyboards or whatever. Technically shouldn't be wearing the engineering ring, as it's supposed to be used for only working engineers. But yeah, I spent some time in Florida, moved there with my first wife, and that didn't work out, but Florida did, so stayed there for quite some time until we got reconnected.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
And how about you?
Well, Yorkton, born and raised, but then moved to Regina in, I don't remember what year, after university, and was working for the Ministry of Finance for the majority of my career. Moved to Guelph, Ontario in 2012. Moved the family, the 3 kids, and big adjustment to our lives there, but Guelph became home. And I worked in the healthcare sector and went back to school to do my MBA because I kept getting curious about this problem we had with the healthcare workforce. And the job I was doing at the time, no one could maintain their workforce. It was constant churn. And I became really curious about that problem. So I studied it in my MBA and started my own consulting company called Rae Soleil, combination of my name and the sun, with the idea to bring in energy and warmth and creativity to organizations that are not thriving and people are burning out. So built some resiliency program work there and kind of pivoted, we moved to Regina in 2022, took a role with the Ministry of Health and kind of got back into government again. But now we're working on an app called MyLifeCatcher, which is I think a passion project because we both lived that rush hour of life when our kids were young. And so now we're working together, developing this solution to help burnt out parents thrive. And so it's a combination of Rick's background in tech and sales and my interest in helping primarily working women who are burning out and suffering to have these solutions both at work and at home. So that's the work that we're working on now.
Yeah.
And we're both writing a couple of books. So life is busy, but it's high energy and lots of fun.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I love this combination of how you're coming from this, this mindset that I want to help burned out moms, burned out families, and then you have an engineer on your side, right? So that really helps from MyLifeCatcher.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah.
And an engineer who's tech savvy, even though, like he says, I don't do the IT. Rick is very curious about AI and about apps and solutions. And a few years ago, I'm like, do I really have to download that app? Oh my God, I couldn't possibly. Oops.
Made her phone extra heavy. Every app that just felt heavy.
Now, the world is changing so quickly, and we have these tools available to us. So how do we use them to, reduce the mundane, boring administrative tasks, and get to a creative space where you're writing and you're creating things, solutions. So yeah,
it's been fun. Like a lot of work, obviously, but we were up till 8.
Up till 8:30
because we're old
last
and
night.
we're up till 8:30 last night. No, but we were working till 8:30 last night on our books. Ray downstairs, me in the office, and we pulled back from the chairs and went, oh my God, it's snowing.
Dark out.
It's dark and it snowed
And
while
I'm
we were
hungry.
doing that, and I'm hungry. But time just flies, right? Like like the saying goes, if you want to do something you love, you never work a day in your life.
Right.
Yeah. So we've been at this MLC for better part of a year now, a little bit more, but we've been tinkering in other things, other small businesses we've started since we basically met.
Yeah.
So I think that meeting each other pulled that hidden entrepreneur out of both of us, and that gave each other the energy to jump in and just take a shot, take a risk,
And courage,
just GSD.
I think,
Yeah.
because I never would do a lot of this stuff on my own.
Right.
Like even going back to school to do my MBA. Rick was saying, absolutely, you want to do this, we can figure it out. Let's go. And like your T-shirt company, I don't know if you can see what he's got there.
This is true, by the way.
There we go.
So
Don't
is that
confuse
from
my
like a
confidence
specific
with
company
confidence.
or just like your side gig?
Backstory T-shirts is one of the. We call it our COVID baby. So when we were in Guelph going through
Right.
COVID, we would, you couldn't leave the house, so we spent obviously a lot of time in the house, and we had a couple of weed weekends where we realized, we're actually pretty funny. And so we would
In our own minds.
started writing down the stupid things we said, and then
Right.
that spawned backstory T-shirts, meaning every one of our sayings on the T-shirt has some sort of backstory,
Right.
real or imagined, but it's something one of us has said in the past, and so
100%.
that became our backstory T-shirts. It's a quiet, it's almost stagnant at this point because I don't have time to do the marketing for it, but it was fun and is fun.
Yeah, and it's funny because it's an inside joke, but we're taking it to the outside,
Yeah.
right? Like we're sharing it with the world, and people are like, what? What does that even
Why
mean?
did that?
So
Why
it's
is
a bit
that
of
on
a
a T-shirt?
It's a
Right.
bit of a
We can't.
conversation.
Sometimes we
starter.
can't tell you.
Yeah, yeah.
So how you guys are creating so many companies. You've got MyLifeCatcher. You guys are writing books. You said when you were in COVID, you didn't have anything to do. You just started a
T-shirt company.
T-shirt company,
Yeah.
right? That's a lot of creativity. Where does that come from?
I think it comes from courage, support, freedom to do these things. But I have to say, a lot of it is laughter. When we get laughing, the creative juices just flow. And I think that is a secret to a happy marriage, in my opinion. And we're going to write a book.
That's a
about
little
that.
perspective right there.
100%. Yeah.
If you can laugh with someone, you've got a deep connection that can get you through an awful lot. And I'm not a clinical person. I have a economics degree and an MBA, but I really became curious in what is causing people to have increased rates of mental health. How are they not surviving at work? What are the places where they've got bosses that don't understand, that don't give flexibility.
Right.
And so, I've studied this resilience concept quite a lot over the last 5 years or so.
What did you find out?
Well, and I think it, obviously it comes from your own place. You need to drink
100%.
water, sleep well, have good nutrition, all the basic physical things. But your mental health, how do you have fun? How do you take a break? Is it gratitude journaling? Is it walks in the forest? Is it, what are the things that can help you mentally? Relationships is the third quadrant that I think are really important. And Harvard's done a study, longitudinal study, the longest one ever done, saying that the key to happiness and fulfillment and a healthy life is a good relationship or a quality relationship. So anyway, all that to say, I think having a really strong relationship where you have fun and you feed off each other's energy
Right.
can really, it can result in lots of great things.
So speaking about that, and you mentioned you both support each other in every aspect. Like when you got together, the entrepreneurial side came out, the creativity came out. I want to ask you both, what's one thing about each other that you value a lot in the sense that, this really turned me into a better human, or this really got me going in a way that I wouldn't be able to do it alone? Because of course,
Right.
there's happiness and all that stuff, but there's also an underlying factor that keeps you guys glued together. What is that?
Yeah, well, I think for me it's support, kindness, the knowledge that I could do something, take a chance, create whatever, and if it doesn't work, that's okay. Let's dust yourself off and let's get back on the next one. And that's what Ray brings to, among many things, the thing I think that pulled me out of that shell. That wasn't what I had in the past.
Right.
Mistakes were frowned upon. Now mistakes are expected and
Encouraged.
well, yeah, okay. We got that on tape.
Expected.
No, but yeah, expected.
Who's
Yeah,
gonna-
maybe not encouraged, but expected.
Right.
But yeah, it's okay to try and fail. And that's always a like a mantra in life for many people, right? You got to, the more you fail, the more quickly you get to success or find success. And that's true, but it's hard to do if every time you fail, you've got someone looking over your shoulder. So among all the other things that Ray brings to this relationship, it's that, support and kindness that's like, okay, great, you fucked up, what's next? And those fuck ups are becoming fewer and further between because now we're working together and she can fix it before
and
I
I'm
break
making
it.
the mistakes.
And I'm a little less supportive.
Right.
Yeah.
I think it's beautiful. When we got married, somebody said to us, I think it was a quote of Diane Sawyer, saying, the key to a happy marriage is kindness. It should be a competition of kindness.
Right.
And so that's kind of how we
Yeah,
entered
that's
into.
true.
And so, thank you for acknowledging that kindness is there.
I remember a few things.
And so what else I would add to that, because I completely agree, but I think trust, deep trust, knowing that no matter what, we're together and there's no betrayal, there's no, uncertainty of what's going on behind the scenes, no hidden agenda. Like, we're just very open and transparent and honest with each other. And I tend to be a little bit more emotional than Rick. It's been a tough year. My dad passed away, and
Sorry about that.
Yeah, in February. It was really a tough time on my whole family, not just me. And Rick's just a solid, he's there with me all the time. And sometimes it gets a little heavy, and we're like, okay, we need some laughter. Okay, we got to have some fun this weekend. And I think that is what brings us together, our laughter, and just like really deeply trusting each other.
Right.
Yeah.
Because what you guys mentioned, and I think you would agree with me on this too, is these qualities, these attributes in both of you, it's so niche down, like in the sense, like it's not something too grandiose, like it's not something that's it's like the most unique thing out of a person. It's like these basic human qualities, right?
Yeah, that's right.
About kindness, about love, about trust.
Yeah.
Now, if you guys don't mind me asking, what do you think that was missing in your previous relationships, and you guys found that out now? Or because again, like these are basic human qualities, like this shouldn't be
but
if you know what I mean.
Not to, although we do every day probably throw shade on our exes, but not to throw shade on them. I think what you said is true, but it's kind of like common sense isn't that common.
Yeah.
Like I think that they are the basic human emotions and things you should be doing every day with everyone, not just the person you love and you're married to.
Of course.
But people don't necessarily do that, or they get caught up in things outside of that affect what goes on inside that bubble or whatever, right? And I think you're right. It was missing, and some of those parts were missing for me, and probably for Ray, or for sure. But they shouldn't be.
So what did you learn from your previous relationship that you found now that you're like, what, hell yeah, this is a fuck yes for me? Like, because either like a relationship is a fuck no or a fuck yes. There's no in betweens.
Yeah.
He said we wouldn't have a filter.
Yeah.
But like that's at least that's the way I look at my
Yeah.
relationships.
Yeah.
That there's no in between. Like if you are like debating between things, it's about time that you call it quits, because you're just like fooling either yourself or somebody else.
Yeah. I think that's true. Yeah.
So what did you guys learn?
Go ahead.
Well, I guess kind of going back to your earlier question, yes, that was missing in my first relationship. And I think, we both got married young. And at that point, it's like, I'm looking for, somebody who's articulate and intelligent and, can earn an income and who's handsome. And, these are the qualities I'm looking for.
But now she's moved on from that.
I've learned.
That's not
Looks
important.
don't matter.
We got a silver
you're-
fox here. What are we
I'm
talking
right
about?
here.
Well, but in addition to all that, like what truly matters. And so my niece is getting married next weekend, and she and her fiance were in the same PhD program. Like there were a couple of science nerds who found each other and were best friends going through their PhD program. If they can go through a PhD program, be friends, and then become a couple, wow. Like I think those two have found the secret. Friends first. That's way more important than looks and money and all that kind of stuff. And so I think in our second marriage, and we joked earlier, get your first one out of the way so you can enjoy your second.
I love that.
You have a whole different list of things you're looking for. And for me, it was trust and levity and handling difficult situations together, not apart. Because parenting is hard. Life is hard. There's always going to be something that knocks you down. But if you don't have that partner beside you to say, hey, I've got this tonight, or, you know, do you want to cry, or what do you need? Instead of telling you how to fix it or whatever, just being there with you. That is a very basic quality, but not everyone can do that, it seems. So.
And I want to ask you this, and so this is something that a lot of people struggle with. So if you start a business, there's a business side to things, and there's a relationship, right? Because you guys are partners and you're starting a business, right? Do you ever feel that things get mixed up, and do you face challenges in, you know, like managing the business and the relationship, and like how do you deal with that?
Yeah, I think we rarely ever fight in general, but I think we've had a few more difficult discussions about where to go with around MyLifeCatcher with some of the decisions on strategy or philosophy or that sort of thing. So I'll answer it in I'll get around to your question, but you know, I got more of a sales, get revenue, every user counts,
Right.
which is important clearly when you're running a business. But Ray has more of that philosophical. We're here to help. We're here to simplify. If we do the right things will happen. It's a phrase I've used all my life. But when we discuss, sometimes aggressively, around the business, it's still based on that platform or that layer of everything we just discussed, right? So it's not going to tear us apart, right? Like it just won't. So I think when we have those discussions, the business side doesn't creep into the personal creeps into the business to say, okay, we disagree, and she's the CEO, so she gets to decide at the end of the day. But
51%. Because I'm female. Yeah.
There we go.
There you go.
you know, sometimes you make bad decisions early in the company. But anyway, you know, I think it's not that the business wrecks the personal. I think the personal helps the business of our relationship.
Right.
Well, and it's interesting because we give ourselves these titles, right? Like we're a startup. I'm a CEO, he's a CRO. Or a CTO,
What's
a
a
CIO.
CRO?
Chief Revenue.
Yeah. But you're everything, right? Like
The chief everything else officer.
CEO too.
Yeah, I can see.
Yeah, CEO squared.
CEO,
Yeah.
but just with a small c.
So what is the title, right? And so we're equals in this, just like we're equals in our relationship. And so, you know, I don't ever question, you know, is Rick doing this with the wrong intentions? I completely trust him. But when it gets into little detail, like, okay, how are we going to phrase that post? Or like I'm rewriting it because I see a typo, or I don't like a phrase. And Rick's like, okay, fine, that's good enough, right?
Right.
And so
Good enough, no, but yes.
Well, no, but
it's better.
Yeah.
But yeah, I know
Yeah.
what you're saying.
But I'm sure he's like, oh, I'm not even going to run this by her because she's going to edit it, and I just want it out. So there's this little bit of, you know, prone to action,
Right.
and I do want high quality. So we kind of have, I guess, not challenges there, but that's where we might experience
That's where there's a
little
little bit of
louder
friction.
volume.
Yeah, a little,
What we'll do,
Right.
and this. Yeah.
come back to squirrel
Yeah.
Steve.
Yeah. And we told you about Sophie. She just passed away, and she was our barometer of, okay, there's something going on here.
It's our
Like,
dog, for those who don't know.
yeah, she passed away on Halloween, and
Sorry
she's
about
been
that.
with us
Yeah.
for 12 and a half years. She's on our website as our, what's the title you gave her again?
Mascot.
In-house therapist.
Oh,
In-house
nice, nice.
Because, you know, she could sense if there was ever any tension. There's hardly ever tension.
Yeah.
I mean,
The animals are really smart that way.
yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, she was a calming influence
Yeah.
in any tension we might experience, but it's very rare
Yeah.
for us.
But you know what I love about like the friction that you guys are talking about as well? In the end, it's towards a common goal. Like it's not friction against each other. Like no,
Right.
my idea matters or your idea doesn't matter, or I think my idea trumps more than you. Like I would say like in our case too, like when we have talks about like hey, how we should do things, I feel like the one thing that every partnership or every, you know, like business that two people are running, that they need to like either come down to or just like realize within themselves is that in the end it's for a common goal, not to get like a leg up the other person.
Right.
Or just to like show who's the alpha here. Like like
Yeah.
I feel like that's how like most partnerships, most relationships, most businesses, they all fail because you're trying to prove something to the other person, but you're forgetting that, you know, you're both working towards the same thing.
Right.
It's interesting you say that. So I just saw like a reel on Instagram, and the guy was talking about, you know, this idea of partnership should be completely abandoned. What he means by that is, so when you're co-founders of a company or you're working, you know, like two directors, it's not the two people, right? It's the company and you're working under as directors. So if you look at it from that perspective, you'll realize that if there's some tug of war between you two, it should not affect the company,
Right.
Yeah.
right? So I love
Yeah.
that idea.
Yeah, kind of distancing yourself a little bit.
Exactly.
Yeah, and that could apply to the workplace too. I mean, the startup world is very different than working in government or working as an employee. But as I'm writing my book about healthcare and the need to retain staff, that's the crux of it. There's so many workplaces, I think, where people get hung up on my idea, your solution, my energy, yours.
Right.
The bigger goal is better patient care, more efficient use of resources, healthy, quality workplaces where people are thriving. It's not about how I manage my staff on this morning or how I behaved in that meeting. It's the bigger picture. We want efficiency and kindness and sustainability.
Right.
But people forget about that. They don't have that common goal sometimes.
I got a question for you based on that, and I feel like I would like to get both of you guys' opinions on that. So you mentioned that people don't focus on the larger goal. They think about like, hey, my ideas or my input or something. Now, is it because they're working for a business that's not really theirs? Because in the end, they're an employee. Like me personally, like the way I look at things, if it's like your own baby, like like the company that you guys are starting, MyLifeCatcher, your consulting firms, I feel like that's different because like, hey, it's my dream.
Yeah.
I'm working for my own dream. I'm working for my own passion. So I have to put the business first. But when you're an employee, a lot of people don't really give a fuck because like, all they're trying to do is like, can I earn that bonus? Or, maybe my idea is going to stand out to the director. Because in the end, like, let's be real, like that employee working at XYZ company, they didn't start it.
Right.
It's not their dream. They're just working for somebody else's, like the founder's dream.
Yeah.
And the company's been around for like 100 fucking years. So do you think that gets in the way that employees don't understand the fact that it's not my business, that's why I just want to like get the leg up above other people? Or what do you think is the main cause in that?
I have a thought on that, but do you want to go first?
Yeah, because you'll have a better one. We can close strong.
Yeah.
First of all, I agree. Like that is the case. I think with most employees of a larger business where they're not smaller 100-person business, you can probably still have a culture of we're in this together and we're here to grow the company.
Exactly. Yeah.
But you add you get to 1,000 or whatever the number is. It becomes more about you, like you were saying in your question.
Yeah, how do you
my
stand out,
promotion,
right?
my
Yeah,
bonus.
exactly.
Yeah, how do you stand out?
Right.
So I have a version of that by way of experience. So I was VP of Sales and Marketing at a company in Calgary, and we had like a 40-person marketing team and a 30-person sales team. And I started to notice that the marketing team started to do that. They were trying to take credit for things maybe that weren't theirs, or at least they wasn't entirely theirs. And and then sales is cutthroat. If you made a sale, we know. If you didn't, we know. And good, bad, move on. And so I took a couple. So this became kind of a mess, and this became fairly clear. So I took a couple of salespeople and said, go into the marketing team for a year, because they wanted to try it. And within the year, they were the same, because there was no short-term recognition or proof that what you did was good in marketing. Right? You have a great marketing campaign. Sales takes the credit because it drove sales. If you have a bad marketing campaign, everyone knows
Blames on you.
Right. And so there was no real way for them to get positive feedback other than, people were doing that internally, but intrinsically they just never felt like they got that. So I don't know if that's exactly answering your question, but I do think people have this need to feel like they've achieved something.
Okay.
And maybe everyone's goal oriented in some way. Like I think everyone is, obviously, but and if you're not achieving those goals extrinsically by people recognizing it, you're trying to do it intrinsically by forcing things to happen that maybe aren't good for the company but are good for you.
So I'll take a slightly different twist on that, because the majority of my career was in public service.
Right.
And so, people talk about working for the man and one more pensionable day, and like people become cynical and jaded, and we get a bad reputation for being a bureaucrat because of what goes on. But the way I look at it after all these years of being in and out of public service, it starts at the very, very top. And so if you have a government who says on their election day, I'm going to cut the public service, I'm going to make it lean and mean, I'm going to reduce the footprint, I'm never going to hire more public servants because they're wasteful, it's fat bureaucracy. Right from the very beginning, you're telling me you don't value me. I am just a cog in the wheel, and at any moment you're going to get rid of me. So bureaucracies live in this environment of we're wasteful, we're redundant, we're disposable. And so they go to work for the paycheck. If you had a leader of a company or of an organization say, every one of you is incredibly valuable. We're going to give you tools so you can thrive, especially now with AI. Make your jobs more efficient because we want more outcomes, better health, better education, better highways. Everything we're going to do better. And we need you because your long experience, you have the expertise and the knowledge. We hired you. Do better. And we're here to support you. Tell us what you need. Then you get innovation, you get doors opening to new supports. And I struggled with this my whole life because it's like, where's the thank you? Where's the recognition? It doesn't take much for people to feel valued and supported. You have to look them in the eye and say good morning when you walk down the hall. You have to say thanks for that. Don't take credit for someone else's work. I mean, these are, again, the basics.
Right.
But people don't behave that way because they feel like, it's someone else's priority, and in any given moment I'm going to be, losing my job.
Do you think that's because of the type of leaders that we come across? Because leadership is really like becoming a lost skill, right?
Mm-hmm.
And like you're right, if you work for 100 people company, you can have that company culture that you're working towards a common goal. But if you work for 1,000 people company, like it's very hard to, feel the just see the difference that you're making.
Mm-hmm.
That's where like good leadership comes in, right? Because if you have a sales team and the head of the sales team tells you, hey, your work is really valued.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I'll show you what you guys did.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think that leadership is one of the things that's stopping people?
Yes, and I'm writing about it in my book.
Let's talk about the book.
Okay. Did you want to have anything
Well,
there
no,
before?
I'm just going to say one thing. Back to my story I told about that sales and marketing thing.
Mm-hmm.
It was anecdotal. It wasn't statistically accurate. It could have been the two people I sent over in sales. But one way we tried to solve that, and I left before I saw the results of this, but we created our strategic plan. We called them the line of sight plan. So wherever you were in the org chart, you could see up or down how what you were doing would affect below and above. So we set up the KPIs and the measurements so that the lowest person on the org chart, their KPIs clearly fed into the person above them and above them and above them to the CEO.
So what's a KPI?
Key performance indicator. So just a metric, right? What you're tracking. So for sales, that's easy, revenue. But when you're in the marketing group, it's you or any other group, HR, ops, is they were able to see, and we needed to refine it, I'm sure, but generally speaking, the goal was if you looked at your KPIs, your metrics, and what your job description was to get to them, you could see how that affected the one below you and the one above you, or the group above you or whatever. And that was the goal, to try and get that ability for someone to control the creation of success for themselves. That if they did this, they were successful, and that got passed up or down, but passed up to the next person. And if they didn't achieve it, you still got you were still did your thing. They were the wrong person or did the wrong things.
So I would flip that model on its side and
See,
say,
this is why we fight all the time. Just crazy.
I love it. Yes, and when I worked in government, I was leading a team that was looking for performance indicators for government. So we had ministry plans who had, their goals and objectives and metrics, but the premier wanted, 12 key, performance indicators. So I was just looking through an old book last night. Oh, meeting with the premier. I was somebody way back,
Could have been
I
somebody.
couldn't remember what year that was. I didn't take very good notes. But anyway, so how do you take 250 plus indicators into a 12 metrics to run government? You want increased literacy, you want better health outcomes, you want, a safe environment. So what are the big things that government wants to achieve? And so we flipped it around to say, what is your plan? And then how are you going to resource it? So instead of just talking about the budget every year, what is your plan? And so when you watch, Carney and others, they have their election platform, but then they have a budget. Where's their plan? I want to see their plan, right? And show me how you're making progress. So back to Rick's, vertical indicators and knowing what's affecting each team, I used to put it more simply, a logic model. Yes, you want world peace or you want better health outcomes. That's an outcome everyone needs to work towards, and it's going to take time. What is your part in it? You can be a compassionate leader. You can take that training. you can change your behavior. So inputs, outputs, here's your resources, here's the number of hours you spent in training. These are the behaviors you're going to do as a leader so that you have higher retention, reduced absenteeism. Like there are metrics that can show you're retaining your staff, you have higher employee engagement, you got better patient outcomes. So all the inputs, outputs, activities, and outcomes. Logic model. Then people can see themselves along the way. And when we were working with the Ministry of Highways, they're like, well, it's kilometers paved. Yes, it is. That's how you're going to know. But you have a safer drive. You've got a safer commute. People are getting to work. There's economic advantages. We used to live in Ontario. I was sitting on the 401, and I'd look at all those trucks sitting there in a traffic jam, not getting where they needed to go. There's an impact on the economy. There might be a solution to having somebody out there waving a flag and moving traffic so they can get to work. No, we're just going to sit here for an hour. So anyway, I think the logic model is a way for people to understand how they can contribute.
And since we're talking about leadership, and I want to get everybody's opinion on this, so you've been involved in so many companies, you've started your own companies, you're doing so many things, right? You've been around a lot of people, and leadership is, at the end of the day, all about managing people, right? According to you, what makes a great leader? One value that makes a great leader?
Communication. Like everything comes down to that, so that's the easy answer, but I do think it's true. The ability to communicate in two ways. So describing, whether it's your vision or your strategy or your plan or your tactics, kind of all the way down the business plan, and then listening all the way back up is what makes things work at a company. Like if everyone understands, like I had a team of it was like 300 or 350 at one point, and I used to say I wanted 350 CEOs. So I want them to all know where we're going and why, so they can make decisions at their level of comfort or risk tolerance, I would say. Like if you make a decision that could cost you your job, probably won't, but know that that's, you can make that decision, but it's only based on the fact that you know enough about what's going to happen because of that, or what metric you're trying to move forward, or how you're trying to push the company. So having these, I would say this in all our meetings, so I have 350 CEOs. I want you to know as much as you can about where we're going and why, so you can make a decision at wherever you are in the org chart to make that happen. And then, I would say, and I don't want to hear the phrase, that hurt even more the second time. Like if you make a mistake, that's okay, but let's not do that again,
Let's learn from it.
Learn from it, right? Yeah. So the mistake, that hurt even more the second time. You get things from everywhere in life. That came from a mover that was moving our house, who picked up a box. It was, if you have a landing, kind of like we have here, but there's it's lower than 6 feet.
Yeah.
And he picked up a box and caught his head right in the corner of the joist, like that, right? And he's like, you could just see him wince. A tough guy went upstairs, came down, grabbed the next box, and did exactly the same thing. And he looked at me and goes, that hurt even more the second time. And this big moving dude was just about on tears, right? So that
literally and figuratively.
Yeah. And so, but that's where I got that. Obviously the phrase exists, but that's where I got that idea. Like, don't make the same mistake. And so back to your original question, though. Yeah, I think it's communication. People know where you're going as a company or as a team, where you are in the leadership structure, so they can make good decisions and not have to constantly ask for permission or clarification. And then when they need to, they know where their tolerance level is, and they go up one level. And eventually that level gets to the board of directors if it's a big enough decision.
Right.
Yeah, so.
How about you?
Well, I agree. Communication is the root of most problems.
The easy answer.
There we go.
But I'm going to add to it, just like Rick always twists my jokes. I'm going to add to it because how you communicate is even more important than what you communicate. And so, I'm thinking, is it compassion? Is it psychological safety? Is it trust? It's kindness. And so again, the basic thing, when you're at the grocery store and you see the teller, good morning, how's your day going? Or, the barista, you have a moment of kindness, it changes their day. And so if I have a leader on my team or above me or whatever that has to deliver some difficult news or provide guidance on performance, whatever, if it's done with kindness, you absolutely get a better result. But if it's done with, I heard this about you, or, I've had a lot of those experiences that weren't kind. and resulted in greater cynicism, withdrawal, resentment, presenteeism, and it just festers.
Right.
Yeah, you know, that reminds me of a story that we haven't, I guess, talked on the podcast for a long time, but it's by Simon Sinek too. So he was given an example of two different types of leaders. There's like one person who goes in the office of one of his employees, and you know, like exactly like that, like your sales aren't, your numbers aren't up, you know, like if you don't get them up, you'll get sacked or something, or like
Threatening.
just basically like threats, abuse, or however like they convey their message, just because they want to be cutthroat, or they just want to show who's the boss, or they think that, you know, being a dick can basically get answers or results. And the other person just basically goes in and asks like, is everything okay with you? Or just, you know, like take a genuine interest in your life. And it's obvious like who's going to outperform who. Because the first person's scared that if I, you know, fuck up again, and I could have my reasons for it, like, you know, like something wrong in the family, like something wrong with health, like an illness or something, I'm gonna get sacked. So like, you know, they get more cautious, they get anxiety, paranoia, whatever they get. And the other person's, of course, like he's not gonna like, you know, slack or anything, but that gives you a bit more scope to be open with your bosses.
Yeah.
Right.
So yeah,
Understanding.
and you know, I feel like that's also like leads to like another factor that's happening a lot is quiet quitting that you see in like a lot of workspaces.
Yeah.
The whole idea is that people just aren't giving a fuck about about what they do anymore, because sure.
Yeah, the opposite of what you were saying. I don't give a fuck versus I need to take credit so I can move ahead. Like it's
exactly.
the opposite.
Exactly.
And it's probably worse in many ways.
Yeah, and if you have leaders like that who really like, of course, when you see like they don't care about you, then you stop caring about the job itself. That's where resentment comes in, quiet quitting comes in, and you start losing valuable employees that you could polish down the line.
Yeah. And the ones you replace them with are going to have that same outcome
because
you're
that's
leading
that's your
same
style
way.
of leadership. That's that's the culture you're developing. Like I don't think it's like we got this from Regan Exner. He's I think the managing partner at M&P, and he mentioned this one thing, that it's the people that foster the culture. It's not the leaders that do it. Like of course
they set the tone.
Yeah, exactly. Of course, you have to like set the precedent, but like how the people work, how the people function. That's what fosters a good environment, a good working culture.
When you talked about kindness, I just thought of this really amazing quote from Maya Angelou. It's like,
my favorite.
People will forget what you said, people will forget what you do, but they'll never forget how you made them feel.
Yeah.
So as a leader, as what Pranav said, that if you walk into somebody's office and be like, hey, your sales are down, I can guarantee a job. Like, you don't want to work in that place, right?
Yeah.
Because if you're feeling threatened, how would you feel every single day when you go to work? If you're not feeling inspired when you go to work, that's not a good place to be in.
Yeah. And they're probably going to leave.
They're probably going to leave.
And then all that investment in time and training and knowledge is left. So that's, I know you want to say something.
I'm just going to say what happens is the good people leave because they can find another job and go somewhere else. The people who aren't good don't leave because they can't find another job. So
or they're afraid to.
They're afraid to, but you bring down the quality of the employees, generally speaking. Right. Because if you're you guys are in a job and you're talented and you're smart and you're motivated and you know you can get a job somewhere else and you don't like where you're working, you'll go find another job. But if you're down and depressed and I can't risk it, because then you stay where you are and you generally bring the average employee capability down because the good people leave in a bad culture.
And I feel like, sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to say, and these people feel not safe, not creative, not innovative, so they're just doing the bare minimum, so productivity.
Right. No, I was going to say, and I feel like that feeds into like what you said at the start as well, why burnout happens, why people feel anxious, why people are more depressed. I'm not saying everybody's a bad employee, but when the average starts going down, you get more pressure on you, because I mean, who are they going to take their anger out on? I mean, right?
So everyone's
increases.
dealing with stress. Like it's very, very common for people to be dealing with illness or grief or sadness or difficult commute or, my fridge broke or, so people will have to deal with stuff. And so are you the kind of leader who says, you know what, like Nikhil, you said, hey, what's going on? Like I noticed like things aren't going well for you. Oh my God, I'm dealing with this thing. I'm like my own experience last year. My dad was palliative, and my sisters and I were doing everything we could while working full time.
He was what, sorry?
He was palliative, so he had a cancer diagnosis.
Oh, sorry.
And he couldn't be treated any longer, so he was discharged from the Alan Blair Cancer Agency, and essentially given 6 months to a year. And so we wanted to keep Dad in his home as long as possible. So my 3 sisters, my brothers in BC, we took turns staying over, taking him to doctor's appointments and everything. It's one of the reasons we created MyLifeCatcher, was to keep all that stuff related to Dad's health in one place, not in a text chat and phone calls and everything.
Right.
But there was, I think I gave a lot of support to my employees who were going through that kind of thing. But when I needed it, it wasn't there. And I wasn't asking for a lot of help, so maybe I wasn't advocating for myself enough. But, going through 6 months to a year of that, not sleeping, gonna be honest, going through menopause, like my brain was not in a healthy place, but I was still thriving at work because we don't have little kids at home. I didn't have to run to hockey. I didn't have to, make meals at 5 o'clock. Rick was a huge supporter when I was working. So I had a lot of give in that last year, but I didn't have a very supportive work environment. So guess what? I'm not there any longer. And, unfortunately, now I would have more time to care for my dad. But, at the time I was juggling. And so I think, these things are temporary. So when you say what's going on, my kids, like my teenager is struggling right now. I need to spend a little bit more time. Could I work 9 to 3 so I'm home when he's home after school? Absolutely. How long do you think you need? Could I work 80% for 6 months? Absolutely. What else do you need? Those are the kinds of bosses who get loyalty and longevity and talent for the long term. And so the book that I'm writing is about retention, not about recruitment, it's retaining your talented team that you've invested in. And through what? Eye contact, being kind, saying hello. These solutions don't cost an awful lot of money, but they have a very high ROI, return on investment, because you're going to get people to stay and your costs are going to be diminished. So.
And of course, I don't want to give away, and of course I would say no, you don't want to give away the whole book right now, but what's some aspects that you would like to share right now that you have learned after writing this book? And I would get back to you as well on your book as well, but you first, what have you learned? How has that changed you?
Yeah, thank you for asking. I mean, it's getting so close to completion that I'm excited to talk about it.
But again, I don't want to be that guy who's giving spoilers
we're gonna
out here.
This
right.
is the reveal.
And at the end, everybody dies.
No, everybody thrives.
Oh, everybody
Zero
thrives.
retention.
Right.
Different ending.
Spell check that.
Yeah. So it's called The $1 Billion Blind Spot. And do you know what a blind spot is?
Yeah.
When you're driving?
Yeah,
it's one of
course.
the first things you need to know, because you can
Shoulder checks.
avoid a lot of accidents if you just do that. And if you're a passenger and you're driving with someone who's not, you're doing this too, right? So it's a natural thing once you know about it. In healthcare, the thing we're not looking at is the high cost of turnover. There's no line item, there's no single, we know how much we're spending on recruitment, time and interviews, all that kind of stuff, but we don't know what it costs to replace somebody. And we're turning people over like this constantly. So I did a case study with my MBA in Ontario. 1,500 staff in this organization. They had, just before COVID, a 30% turnover. So you do the math on that. 1,500 people.
450?
So I don't want to get into the math here, but it was a $20 million problem every year that was slipping out the door that nobody was looking at. Just with a very low cost of replacement, $15,000 per person. So you say, okay, well, what if you could save that 20 million instead of losing it? What would you do? Oh, we'd be the provider of choice. We'd have training. We'd have better health outcomes. All these things if we had just a little bit more money. Well, you're losing it, but you don't know it, and that's happening in every organization. You ask a health authority, what are you doing to retain your staff? I don't know, exit interviews. That's not good enough. Right? What is your turnover rate? What does it cost to replace? Calculate that number. It's shockingly huge, and nobody's doing that. So I want to uncover that, shine a light on it, and say this is our best strategy in healthcare right now. How come no one's using it? And then the second half of the book is all the solutions to help you retain your staff. Because, like I said, it has to come from the very top. But if it's not, what can I do as an individual leader within my team to make sure my team is happy and thriving and productive? And then hopefully others can start to see, hey, what's happening over there? They're doing some good things. They're not burning out. They're showing up. They're happy. They're laughing. What's happening?
Right.
It's good leadership.
What's the biggest reason that healthcare has a huge turnover rate?
It's a difficult environment. You know, people, and they've been doing this for years. COVID really hammered the healthcare system. So, you know, the general thinking is we have a shortage. There's not enough. We got to put more seats. You know, we got to recruit from other countries. Actually, you know what? There's a lot of people. They're just not getting credentials. They're not working in good environments. They're working part-time as an agency nurse because it's more lucrative for them. Whereas the nurse that's been on the ward for 20 years, she's getting paid less now than the agency nurse. That's not fair. Early retirements, you know, so the problem is complex. I don't want to simplify it, but the solutions can start tomorrow. And that's where I want people to start reframing how you feel about your healthcare workforce, about your ministries of health, of your governments. Tell them they're valued right from the very top. And then boards and CEOs, take a look at this high cost of turnover and ask your people, coach them to retain their staff, you know? Don't get rid of people. They're valuable. Keep them around, you know? So anyway, there's a lot of solutions, which excites me because, you know, this can be a very difficult situation and it's troubling. I wrote a white paper about it and a couple of my colleagues who read it said, I'm actually really frightened that this is what's happening. I'm like, okay, but there's solutions, there's hope. There's a lot we can do and we can do it starting tomorrow.
Right.
Or today.
For today.
So where can people find your book and when is it coming out?
It's still in my computer, so
Okay.
it's not in a written form, but we're getting to the point where I want to start editing and I'm hoping this spring it'll come
Right.
out.
Perfect.
So, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And you also mentioned you're writing a book. Why don't you talk
Not,
about
not
that?
as weighty. Not
Okay.
anywhere close to that. No, it's more of
It'll
a.
provide the comic relief.
Oh, thanks. It's a little more serious than that. It's meant to be more of a motivational, going through the startup. Well, let me back up. So I've always had this phrase I've used, and I'm sure I stole it from someone, but I can't remember who. Think
It's yours
big.
now.
Yeah, it's mine now until somebody sees this and they go, that's mine. Think big, start small, act quickly, right? So have a big plan, but take a bite and get going, right? Don't make it perfect because, you know, what's the phrase? The enemy of good is perfect or something or whatever. So the book is called Time to GSD, Get Shit Done.
I like that.
And so it's not meant to be a how-to. It's a just do book, right? Like it's I don't know, 11 chapters or something, and they're all about various topics around that, right? You already have what you need, so don't wait. You don't need a boardroom, you need a kitchen table crew, you know, like, and so it's short. It's going to be like 120 pages. It's not. You can read it on one flight to Toronto, kind of thing, like, and but it's just meant to be motivational, and it's meant to capture some of the ways I've been trying to live my life, and more so now with Ray. But just do it, like just fucking go, right? Or let's fucking go if you're doing the LFG phrase. But
Deadpool reference.
yeah, but that's all it's about. It's not, like I said, it's not how to do it. It's to kick you in the ass to just do it, whatever that it is for you.
Why people aren't doing enough? Why do you think people are stopping? That
I think
you know,
just
like,
overthink. Like,
is that what it
there's
is?
worried. Well, back to some of the stuff we talked about. Afraid to make a mistake. Not supportive either in your environment at home or work, or in your own mind mostly. You know, like a lot of people overthink things. I certainly did, and still do. But you know,
How have you changed that from doing a lot to, you know, managing your overthinking? Because I feel like people who do overthink, it's hard to turn that switch off.
it is.
But you can manage that, though.
Well, you can convince yourself that it's the right thing to do. I need it to be better before I tell people, or before I go public, or before I publish it, or before I ship it, or whatever your product is. And the way around it is just do it and see what happens. You know,
That
and
takes courage, though.
well, that's the problem, right? Is it
people
takes
not having courage.
Well, and
People are afraid to put themselves out there
Yep.
with a half-baked idea.
another
we're
topic
not
for,
that afraid of it.
Right.
But yeah, so I think that's what the book is trying to do, is just say it's okay. Like, you're gonna screw up. Like, even if it's great, it's still not good enough, right? Like, you'll make mistakes, whatever you do. Like, if you wait, something that was ready 2 months ago and you launch it now, it's still gonna not be great. Like, it's still gonna have problems. It's still gonna be, whatever. But just do it. So you're right. It's not a switch that necessarily can just turn on,
Right.
but it's a switch you have to turn on. Like we talked, as you guys mentioned, but we've got a lot of things on the go, right? Lots of different companies MyLifeCatcher being the center point, but we can't do that if we just overthink, you know. And just so that's why we have a T-shirt company, because we just said, let's just fucking do it, you know, like, you know. Go ahead.
it's
Let's,
just
well,
interesting.
sorry, for me, writing the book was that. You know what? I just want to write a book, so I just did it, you know.
Yeah, so overthinking is an interesting, I would say almost like a male perspective on it.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Because I would say,
I didn't think about that.
and I'm overthinking it. I think people have scarcity of time. So I was a busy rush hour of life, 3 little kids, demanding job. Oh, I need my MBA. Like, well, I never had time to sit and reflect, ever. So I took 3 maternity leaves, and during that time, I was nursing and trying to stay awake, and like, it was a blur each time because you're devoting everything to your child. No one really takes a break from work unless they're asked to leave and they have some time or whatever. Most people are constantly employed, constantly doing. And so to have moments where you can sit back and think about, what do I actually want to do? You know, why am I going to work? What do I want to achieve? Very few people get in that space. And, you know, and we avoid it because, oh, my thoughts are deep and dark. I'm just going to watch more Netflix, or I'm going to, you know, play a game before I fall asleep.
Find an escape.
Escape. And I think that's our society, where we like to be distracted, we like to be engaged, we like to be on. But if you have a moment, an hour, where you sit and you journal and you think, and I've been doing a lot of that, walking my dog in the forest, that was my meditative time, to really think, okay, what is next? Because I was in some pretty desperate places at different times of my life and my marriage and my careers. And so I think it's not that I was overthinking it. I didn't know what it was. Mm-hmm. You know, I was like curious about some other thing. And now what would a startup world even be? Like, I don't have the courage. I don't have the time. I'm just going to stay employed. And I'm burning out, and now I'm mad. Right. So all these years later, we have this freedom. We found each other. We energize and excite and get creative. And then we actually can create something. Like, I think that's a blessing that most people don't get.
No, especially like this time when we have social media. Like, if you look at lives of people, you wake up in the morning, the first thing people do is look at Instagram, scroll, right? Go to work, and while working, you listen to music.
Or you're scrolling.
You're scrolling. yeah. I scroll. That's what I work.
Yeah.
And then you go to the gym. You're still listening to music.
You're
constantly on something, right? You
Dopamine
become
hits.
used to dopamine hits, and you become used to feeling sedated. Mm-hmm. Like, that's the biggest thing. You know, like, comes back to what Pink Floyd said, comfortably numb.
Yeah.
Right? That's what you've made yourself.
Yeah.
Right? And it's funny. So there's a book called Essentialism, and it talks about this idea that the busier life gets, the more time you need to reflect, right? So Bill Gates, at the peak of Microsoft, like, this guy was a billionaire, right? Greatest company, Microsoft, you know, like #1 software company, whatever, right? He was working constantly for years. He didn't take a day off. But what's something that not a lot of people know is, every year he would take 2 weeks off, and he would just go to like a secluded place, and he would just read. He wouldn't do anything, just read, just reflect on things.
Like no emails, no phones?
Nothing.
Yeah, disengage.
And that's how a lot of creative ideas came from him. So I think that's very important, you know, just take a break.
Yeah.
Yeah, just do it.
So
Right,
how's
like
your
GSD that.
Right.
Get shit done, yeah.
Right. So how's your guys' reflection journey been? What have you found out about yourselves?
Through all of this?
Yeah. Because you guys, you know, you mentioned like you're journaling a lot. You find each other. You're taking time and sitting down with each other and yourselves as well. What's something that you found out about yourself so far that you're like, this changed, or I want to change this?
Oh, geez. I thought the questions would be easier.
What's your favorite color?
Red, no blue. No, I think for me, and this is the first thing that jumped to mind, so I reserve the right to add something at the end. But I think is I have more energy than I thought I would at this age, right? Like,
not a lot of people can say that.
Like, I think, and some of that I think is drawn from everything we just talked about through this discussion, is there was, I was, back in the days, certain days, I was probably clinically depressed. Like I would lie on the couch and watch TV, like lie on the couch, not sit on the couch. And I think now I find I want a GSD. I want to get shit done. I want to get up and do. Yeah, the other side of that is so much to do. It can be like, oh my God. But that I have more energy now than I thought I would have. And I think if I look forward, and I think I have more energy now than I would have had in the past anyway. So it's not just more than I thought I'd have at my age, 62, than I thought I would have had, but more energy than I've had in the prior 62 years. And I think that goes back to that discussion we had earlier about the environment you're in, the supportive relationship you're in, like all those things fuel the fire. So we like to say we're just getting going. We got
just getting started.
The road we've got a long way to go and a short time to get there.
Yeah.
Given our age, a Smoking the Bandit reference for those who are old enough. But
LFG.
LFG, baby.
LFG?
Let's
Yeah.
fucking go.
Let's fucking go. That's
Let's fucking
Deadpool.
go.
Deadpool.
But yeah,
That's
the break is important, and we do that.
Mm-hmm.
We're a little bit of couch potato some nights, and we take some breaks. But I think when I see days where that I'm not doing something, that kind of is what makes me anxious.
That's your version of anxiety.
Like
right there.
I was always
Yeah.
the person people would, back to the Bill Gates thing, not that I was, but when I was at companies in the past, I would always have back then the BlackBerry, right?
Yeah, I missed that, man.
Yeah, but meaning back in the day when you could have email in your hand versus on a laptop. And I would take it everywhere, on vacation or whatever, because I was less stressed knowing what was happening than wondering what was happening. So that's always been me, right? Like I could not do the Bill Gates thing. That would cause me stress. Now, maybe if I was Bill Gates, I would need those 2 weeks or I would explode. But I've always been that person.
And I think that's very common. People take their, week off at Christmas or their 2 weeks in the summer or whatever, and they're constantly on. So people aren't actually getting a break.
Yeah.
So, we charge our phones, we fill up our cars, but we don't charge ourselves. And I think, I'm writing about that resiliency chapter in my book. Sorry,
The $1 billion blind spot.
Didn't want to say it again.
Coming out in spring.
So I was just writing the chapter because I've got courses on resiliency. And, you ask, what's your journey?
What's your reflection
I would
point?
say resilience is crucial to, continuing to thrive and grow, and it means something different to everybody. But I designed a course around it because I think there's various quadrants of your life that you need to build to be resilient. Your physical health, your mental health, your relationships and boundaries, and then your leadership and career. So to me, it's not work-life balance. It's a combination of these 4 quadrants. And so I was summarizing it into a neat little chapter last night. And I think, what it comes down to is you can create more energy for yourself. There's this graph that I learned long ago that your energy peaks at about age 28. I don't know how old you guys are.
We just turned 23.
24? Oh my
yeah,
God.
he's
Your best days are
Okay,
ahead.
so they are. They are.
25, yeah.
And when you're
Same.
young, you think, oh my God, 50, that's so old. So your energy peaks around age 28, but the demands on you continue to increase, especially if you're a parent or you're caregiving for an elderly parent, that sandwich generation. And so how do you match this energy that's depleting to the demands? You got to create that energy. And how do you do it?
Right.
It's by taking good care of yourself, taking breaks, setting boundaries, having quality relationships, building and thriving and continuously learning.
Right.
Because that's exciting. If you're always learning something, you never feel like you're done. And so to finally answer your question, I've been working with a coach, Jenny Transky, who's awesome. Little shout out to Jenny.
What does she specialize in?
She's a life coach. So she helped me with a major transition in my life, leaving traditional employment to focus on my consulting and to work with Rick on MyLifeCatcher. And I had a lot of uncertainty and self-doubt, and I was overthinking. And she gave me a lot of tools, so I can't summarize them all. But I think the lesson I learned from that is I'm continuing to evolve, and I'm changing so rapidly that I'm a very different person now than I was 3 years ago, or even a year ago.
That's a good thing.
And bring it on. Like I'm excited, I'm more confident, I'm bolder, I'm, I think, more succinct in looking for what I want. Challenging, putting ourselves into situations where we are unknown, like the startup world. Yeah, like it is energizing. So anyway, that's a long answer.
So, this is a very out of the box question, but we started this podcast based on this idea that stories are like the most powerful thing out there, right? And if you can relate to a story of somebody else's story, it can really inspire you, right? So when you guys were growing up, like, you guys are so wise, you guys are so smart, you're like creating so many companies. Were there any stories that you were like, I'm really inspired by this?
You know what? Nothing jumps to mind, to be honest.
Well,
Like,
I'll do mine. And
do
then
yours and maybe something
will
else.
jump.
Yeah.
I mean, there's lots of people that have inspired me. I've had some really good leaders over the years, and I've had some really bad ones. But I would say the person who was my North Star was my dad. He was absolutely the most kind, the most generous, and the most open-minded person that I've ever known. And for a man who lived to be almost 95, he had such an interesting perspective on things. He was incredibly open-minded. And I think, like, he would say things like, well, who am I to say if this is right or wrong? Like, that person could be right. I don't know. Like, I'm just open to the possibility. And I just think that was a remarkable perspective for someone who, was born in 1930.
Yeah.
And could have been pretty set in his ways.
Do you miss him a lot?
Yeah, a lot.
So what's some values that are still, instilled into you that you want to see, like, of course, every day within yourself, maybe in your kids as well, that you're like, hey, you know what, this should be his legacy that I want flowing through me, possibly flowing through my kids?
Good manners,
Expand on that.
Well, when you walk up to a door and somebody's walking through and they don't even look back and they close the door on you, or they're walking down the hall and they don't acknowledge you.
I feel like, again, comes down to the basic human
It's
qualities.
basic, kindness, awareness of others,
Right.
not putting yourself behind others necessarily, but being strong enough to take care of yourself and help the person coming behind you.
Right.
My dad never gave me advice, even though sometimes I asked it. He'd say, take the high road, don't worry about it. Like he would say small things like that. And my response usually was, well, that's unsatisfying. Like, no one knows if you're taking the high road. I want to say something. So he was always just err on the side of kindness. Don't worry about stuff so much. It's going to be okay. And when you're in the throes of something really difficult, those are hard words to hear. But, in the end, he's right. These things pass. You have a long journey, and what seems really difficult now, a year from now, I did that. I survived that. And so, when we look at our life map and, the ups and downs, and I'm not sure where I'd be in 2025, given the difficult things we've gone through. I'm kind of like I'm quite sad on certain days, but I'm also extremely energized by what we're creating and how we're living our lives.
Right.
And the people who are coming into our lives. That is a pretty healthy balance.
If you could give him a message, or if you want to say something, if you could say something to him right now, what would that be?
Just thanks for being a great role model, and he's with me every day. Yeah. So, huge
That's really
admiration.
sweet.
Good job without tearing up as well.
I know, I'm just holding it back.
The goal of every podcast episode, make the guest cry.
Where's the music? Music helps.
But, then pivoting from, and I just gotta say, I love your guys' mindset, towards, how you see life, how you see business, relationships, and all that. I feel like our viewers and listeners can learn a lot from you guys and how you guys have a perspective on these things. How has your life changed in terms of being employed somewhere and now you're an entrepreneur? How's the entrepreneurial journey been for you guys?
I would say it started off hard. I left the last job I had. Time's just the other problem with entrepreneurial is how long has it been? I don't know, 2 years, I guess.
Years, yeah.
Where I had a quote unquote real job, managed a global reseller chain for a CRM company. and so,
Customer relationship management.
So, yeah,
Another
I've heard that one.
acronym.
a smaller version of Salesforce, Maximizer out of Vancouver. But and I left that, and there was probably initially some motivational issues, right? Like in the sense that when you have a job where you've got lots of people, in this case, lots of business partners from around 24 different time zones around the globe, there's always people coming to you for questions, answers, whatever, and when that stops, you've got to figure out how to self-motivate. I've always had that GSD, think big, start small, act quickly, like just fucking go. But I think it was less than I thought it was, because when you got to start working for yourself, there's one person, now there's two, but when I first started this, there was one person, me in that room over there, that had to decide what was going to happen today. And if it didn't happen, because there was a good show on TV, I'll get to it tomorrow. So I think the thing that changed the most was that finding that intrinsic motivation to just get shit done, even though no one was really watching.
How do you keep the flame alive?
Well, I think eventually that becomes, if you can't start the flame, then you're toast, right? You can't, then you're retired, right? In a true sense of retirement. I got a wood shop, doing some things, putter around the yard, like I'm just gonna coast into the rest of my life. But once you get that fire and you start to see the results, like something is happening, and you have to be ready for the fact that something could be a trip and fall, but get back up and move forward. You start to find that that's a motivator, and that keeps the fire going, right? So I think that for me was what I've had to get through from the corporate, Fortune 500 kind of feel to Fortune 1, right? Well, Miss Fortune 1, right? Like it was me, and now us, and so now that it's us, there's a little bit more of that, right? Now we
Greater accountability.
Yeah, my boss.
Let's get out of bed by 8 o'clock.
She's a ball breaker. I got to tell you, like every day. What did you do yesterday?
Oh no.
but I think that was it. Like that was the transition that was hard, is being self-motivated.
Right.
Even though, like I said, I kind of thought I was, but when you really get that laid out in front of you, that today, what are you working on? And so getting a little bit of traction there, and for me anyways, so yes, how do you keep that flame burning? That becomes intrinsic. So if you are not the person who can keep that flame going, then you just have to choose a different direction in what you want to do.
How about you?
Well, it was interesting because there's a lot of things I loved about my job. I had a really great team, but it was meetings all day long, so I'd go to work thinking, okay, I've got a couple things I want to get done. Here's 100 emails, here's every meeting, context switching. And so it was exhausting and never enough, and more and more and more. And so then now, we set our meetings, we're in control, it's our schedule. If I'm gonna write today, I'm gonna write today. And so I'm working on my priorities. So it's very freeing because I'm not doing someone else's work, someone else's priorities. So I love that. But it's also so loose because I'm not scheduled every hour. Yeah. And so, I have this need, I think we all have a need to see results, to see progress. 100%. And so, we're finding new ways to say, okay, we got that done, we completed this thing, because the path is long and it's uncertain, and we think we're doing the right things, but we're first time doing it. And so there's a little bit of, fear, excitement, but also what can go wrong? Like we kind of have a
apart
fun
from
attitude.
Putting our own money into the MLC, for example, what could go wrong? Because if everything blows up, we're just retired at the end of the day. Like we'll just do what I said. We'll coast, we'll travel, we'll do whatever retired people do. But that's the work. Apart from spending all of our money on a project that doesn't produce, which we would never do. What's the worst case scenario is that.
And I read something, or on Instagram I saw something, talked about, loneliness and aging and, how people either thrive, like in the blue zones, or don't. And it's learning. It's getting out there, trying new things, joining a class, being part. So getting engaged in your community and learning something new is the secret to a long, healthy life. And I think everyone should have the experience of being their own boss, having run a business. There's lots of, you should be in retail sales, you should be in hospitality,
server,
so you know what that feels like. You should probably run for office, so you know what that's like. But starting your own business, being responsible for your own income, is a different level than being an employee. I think everyone should try that. Because it gives you very deep perspective and respect for people.
Also
who are doing it.
reality check too.
Yeah.
Because I feel like when you know there's an income promise for, even like when we were talking about quiet quitting, like the whole concept of quiet quitting is you're doing the bare minimum of work. You're just not going above and beyond.
Yeah.
You're still getting a paycheck.
Yeah.
But if you do bare minimum in your business, you're screwed.
Yeah.
Because like it takes a lot. Like
Yeah.
I was gonna ask you about this too, and we learned this concept from our previous guest, Ben Tingley. Shout out to Ben from Bravo Tango. He talked about a concept called the entrepreneurial itch. Like he always knew that he's going to be an entrepreneur. Sure, he started out in different companies, like everybody does, just to get experience, just to get exposure, clientele. Did you have that in the back of your head too, that you have that entrepreneurial itch, that you want to do something of your own?
I think so. I don't think I recognized it till recently in terms of actually doing it. But I've always wanted to take on other things. So, like not being entrepreneurial per se, but when we moved to Florida back many years ago, my kids were just starting hockey in Calgary. And so moved to Florida, one rink in Jacksonville, it's a million, more people than Saskatchewan.
Wow.
And they wanted to keep going. And went down to the rink, and there were 12 kids between the age of 5 and 12, I think it was, that were on the ice. So that was our hockey team. And no one was running the program, so then I jumped in and started running it. So that wasn't entrepreneurialism, but it was recognizing an issue or a problem and trying to solve it. And 3 years later, we had kids in A and AA and all 5 levels of hockey right up to midget.
And you can say you started that.
And yeah, I mean, if anyone from Florida is watching, go. But yeah, clearly a ton of people to help.
Right.
But I wanted and it was selfish. I wanted my kids to keep doing what they love to do. Probably we should have took up football and baseball, and they would have had a much tighter community at school versus but it's hockey, so of course,
Right.
and for them it was great. They went on to play AAA hockey in the U.S. and traveled all over North America to play.
Good for them. Holy shit.
That was awesome. It was very expensive, so there was that. But I think that was kind of some examples for me of just wanting to do more. But
Right.
that I was in that time of my life where it wasn't okay to not have a day job. Now I lost a couple of jobs along the way and had to figure shit out. I became a teacher for 2 years down there because I left my job or was asked to leave, made redundant, and then became a teacher for a couple of years. I'd always wanted to teach, so I taught high school math and physics in Florida, which was awesome.
Got some funny stories from that too.
I've got some very funny stories. Not to
No.
too tangential. No, I won't tell the stories.
They're too
Those will
long.
be for offline. But I taught physics at the worst high school in the second worst county in Florida. Everyone knows Dade County in Miami. It's like we had
So, like, full of
armed
delinquents?
cops on those segways, so that
Oh,
so
wow.
they could get somewhere if there was an issue. Clear backpacks were mandatory because you didn't know what kids were bringing to school. And I taught physics there for a year, and then which was a whole set of stories unto itself. And then I moved to the school where my older son was going to high school, Ponte Vedra Beach. So totally different environment. At Wolfson, that first school, you were afraid of the kids. And at Ponte Vedra, you were afraid of the parents. Anyway, but all that's stories for another day. But
Right.
that, when I didn't have a job, I thought, well, what could I do? Would this be kind of fun? And in Florida, you can teach school for 3 years without a teaching degree or certificate in an area that you're university or experienced in. So I had my engineering degree and my comp sci degree that made me eligible for math and physics. So I taught high school math and physics in 2 different schools. But again, was that entrepreneurial? I don't know. What we're doing now was or is that. So I think I had the itch, but I didn't know how to scratch it.
I feel like, especially with like coming from an engineering background,
Yeah.
like engineering is basically problem solving, right?
Yeah.
Entrepreneurship is you find a problem and you find a solution. So like if you
Yeah.
look at all these companies like Elon Musk, like Sam Altman, like Bill Gates, they all are engineers.
Find some female examples.
Yeah, I'm sure there's one.
Yeah,
There's
I'll give you
one,
some.
There's one who owns ARK Investments. Oh, do you know that person?
No, it's the lady who started Bumble. What's her?
Whitney Wolf Herd?
Yeah.
Is that
No,
her?
I'm
Yeah.
talking
Even the
about
owners of Tinder, like she's female.
She was, I think.
Right. She spun off of
You're gonna have
Tinder
to edit
make
all this
Bumble.
out because we're Whitney
But
Wolf Herd is a great example.
Yeah.
Okay.
But
Yeah.
anyway, sorry.
Yeah.
I took you off aside.
Yeah. So like, at the end of the day, like you've always had that problem-solving ability. It's just now you're applying it into a company, right?
Right. Yeah, that's fair. Yeah. Yeah.
And how about you?
Trying to remember what the original question was.
Because I took it so
'Cause
far
the
off.
next side
I
was
tried to
the
bring it back. and I
entrepreneurial
didn't.
itch.
Yeah.
So I think I've always had an itch to be a writer. I would say that's always been in me. And one of the things I did with my dad, he wrote a book and I typed it and edited it and helped him self-publish. So that
What
was
was his
like
book about?
River Lore is the name of it. It was about the part of the province where he grew up and all the stories around the headwaters of the Assiniboine. So beautiful, like family history, but also, some
Actual
storytelling.
history.
Yeah.
What's the book called again?
River Lore. Yeah, I can give you a copy if you want to read it. It's awesome. But that was my first experience with self-publishing, and I've always wanted to write. But I think, I would say my itch was suppressed for many, many years because I needed a job. I needed to pay the bills. I had 3 little kids, and it was like, okay, got to keep the money coming. What's next? I really want to go back to school. I can't. It was the drive. And I kind of feel like, I wouldn't change that for the world. Being a mother is the most important thing I've ever done. And I'm so, my kids are amazing. But it didn't allow me to do a lot outside of, my traditional job and my family responsibilities. And I think a lot of women are in that place. It's like, I can barely get enough sleep. How would I begin something new? I just gotta get the paycheck.
Right.
So I think the open door for us was, a supportive partner who said, we can do these things together. Let's figure it out. We're going to take some risks, but we're safe to do so. And let's have levity and fun with it, because then it's more enjoyable.
Right.
It's not like, oh no, I need to do this because I have to make money. It's like, I want to do this because I want to solve a problem. And we hope that we have some financial reward.
Yeah.
So it's really flipped it to a
Yeah.
place where
It's
we
not
can
a chore.
explore that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you know what, let's talk about MyLifeCatcher.
Okay.
So, how's it going? What's the future goal? Where do you want to take it? How about we talk about a little bit about that as well?
Sure.
And sorry, before that,
Yeah.
let's talk about, because I don't think we talked about this. What
Mhm.
made you start MyLifeCatcher?
Yeah.
Just a little intro about MyLifeCatcher, and then, of course, what Pranav asked.
Okay. Why don't you start with the why we started, because you tell a better story.
Well, we've been working on our 3-minute pitch. In fact, I'm doing it next week. So we started this because we were experiencing a problem ourselves. Lived experience with being in the rush hour of life with little kids and trying to get a meal on the table and finding there's a science project due tomorrow and, we got to go get supplies and, just everything cognitive load in my head primarily. And, just going to be really frank here. Meanwhile, there's the Monday Night Football theme coming on TV, and it's like, well, I'm drowning over here. And then going to work and feeling like I wasn't doing enough. And so the phrase we use is, I'm expected to have a job like I don't have a family, and raise a family like I don't have a job. They're both 2 full-time jobs.
Mm-hmm.
And that's primarily on the women. There are some men out there who are way more engaged, like Rick.
Oh.
But it wasn't my experience in my first marriage. And so, all these years later, our kids are gone. They're older. But we're like, we need a place to keep, all of our membership numbers and, our plans for Thanksgiving dinner and who came last year and what did we make and what's our neighbor's name? So a place to keep everything.
Yeah.
So when I'm booking a flight or when I'm planning a meal or whatever, everything in one place. So the idea is to have a very simple, searchable, and streamlined platform, a system, where people can go and find everything they need related to the home. So, I might have a recipe app, and I might have a trip app, and I might have a team snap. I want
To-do app.
everything in one place. So I know I can trust it, it's there, and I spend less time worrying about it. So we've designed some features that we think are time savers. And we're really excited about, finding the solution for women who are in the rush hour of life. But we're realizing that, everyone can use this. Kids leaving home for the first time, older people, starting to think about their estate planning and where am I going to keep all my passwords and all my, sign-ins for all my websites. And so we think there's longevity for this because it will be a lifesaver for many, many people. But it starts out with that burning desire to help women who don't have a tool to organize their lives.
Yeah,
That's awesome.
Do you find that a lot of like women in their middle age, they are not very tech savvy? How do you deal with that problem?
Well, tech savviness isn't age dependent. I've got some former colleagues who are in their mid-30s and said, well, like, how would I even use ChatGPT? Like, do I?
What app do you use for ChatGPT?
Yeah. so, and I think technology has changed so much. And I mentioned earlier that I was a person who's really reluctant to put another app on my phone. It just felt like way too much.
Right.
But now I feel like I'm much more curious about AI, and I'm using tools, and I'm thriving. And the tools are becoming much more streamlined and simple, right? You don't need a degree in computer science to figure out how to run. So I think we're in this very interesting time where some women my age would have more time and might not be as comfortable exploring apps. So we wanted to build it so it's intuitive and clean and easy, so that they can then share recipes and plans with their kids and help them have a system. So technology is one component of it, and I think time is the other, because so many people, like we're finding, are really, really young moms, don't even have time to think about this, right? Like they are drowning.
Mm-hmm.
So we're trying to find like who is most interested in using this solution, and it might be a real variety of people.
Yeah.
Awesome. So coming back to what I asked originally is, like, what's the goal? How do you want to shape this, lead this on? How's the future looking for MyLifeCatcher?
Well, I think the ultimate goal is saving people time.
Right.
Like giving them time back in their day, their month, their life, so they can spend it where better spent, right?
Mm-hmm.
Whether it's with your kids or your spouse or doing that, break you need to recharge the battery. So that's the ultimate goal, is to, a very tactical way of saying it, accumulate millions and millions of minutes saved, around the globe eventually. But so I think that's the ultimate goal. I mean, that the real below that's is paid users and lots of money in the bank account, but that's what we want to do, right? Ray mentioned cognitive load, removing the things in your brain, and that first thought being it's the working mom who's carrying so much load, but removing that stuff so it's in one place. Like we like to think, this is, the phrase we're going to start using is this the only app you'll ever need, right? Because it will track your to-dos and your calendar and your recipes and your planning notes and X and Y and Z and all those sort of things that we will eventually add through the product roadmap. It'll get people introduced into AI. We've got our own AI, Liam and Margot, right? You on board, you pick Liam or Margot. And for what it's worth, the genesis of that was when we were thinking about MLC back in the day. Ray said, we want the AI to talk, like literally talk, not just text on a screen. And I want it to be a handsome Australian named Liam, right?
Who says, "Good morning, beautiful. How can I help you today?"
Yeah, so
I'm your personal assistant.
Yeah, so for the people who are watching this, our vision of Liam and Margot is Liam Hemsworth and Margot Robbie, because they have an Australian background. Like
Nice,
if you interact with them on our app, they, "G'day, mate," and they come in.
And one of the nice features about that is, a mom could open the fridge and say, I need protein. Speaking to the phone, Margot, give me a 5-ingredient, or give me a high protein breakfast made with spinach and eggs, and
That's all I got in the fridge.
And then Margot, because she's in the app, gives you that recipe, and then if you like it, you can save it right there, versus having to go out to ChatGPT and back. And,
Google it or whatever.
Or I find this really messy recipe on Instagram, go to her site, and it's ads and videos, and like open an external browser, copy the URL into LifeCatcher. In seconds, you've got the photo, the ingredients, the instructions. You can change it to gluten-free. Our AI does all that. But now when I want to make that squash quinoa salad, I have it in my recipe catcher. And if I want to go back to that amazing chef to watch that video on how she toasted her quinoa, click on the attribution, takes you right back to that recipe. Mm-hmm. I don't have to remember, was it Pinterest or Instagram or YouTube?
Right.
So time's saved, is one. Also efficiency in that, you know what? We're going to have encore presentation of our salad last night. We don't call it leftovers. And we're going to play. We're going to play a game. And that's the kind of parenting I wanted to have. I wanted to make Play-Doh and laugh and make cookies and, you know, watch the hockey game, not have to be on my phone or, you know, share the recipe in real time with the person at the grocery store or the Christmas list with grandma, so that I don't have to send out 16 messages to everybody who in the text chat now told a joke and now we've got off the conversation. What do we need to do for dad?
Right.
And I'm booking a trip. What was that place we stayed in Mexico 3 years ago? It's here, right?
Oh, okay.
So we are looking for high efficiency. And I think one of the challenges we're finding is that people are like, oh, that's sweet. You know, oh, cute.
Help
It's a
them
lifestyle app. Where's the money? And so when we pitch to investors, you know, we want a 10x. You know, we're looking venture capital. Like, there's sharks. Okay, we're pitching to Move in 51 in November. It's started by the 51 group of female investors who said women make up 51% of the population, but they only get 2% of venture capital funding. Let's change that. There's a huge transfer of money coming, primarily to women, over the next few years. We need women to be financially literate. In the markets, in the networks where these things are happening, we want to help them invest in companies that will make a difference. And so we're not promising that we're going to 10x your money, but we want to solve a problem so that women come out from underneath that heavy tsunami of water coming on them every day, have fun raising their children, be productive at work, have economic growth and success so that they can one day be investors in companies like the 51. So I get fueled up when I talk to, you know, a male investor who kind of goes, you know, a lifestyle app. You know.
Right.
This is life. Women are drowning, and you're not paying attention to it because you're too busy going to the hockey game or watching Monday Night Football. You know, your kids are suffering. You know, kids aren't doing well. High rates of mental health issues.
Right.
People aren't thriving at work. So I kind of feel like, you know, my efforts in my consulting company, trying to help healthcare workforce and burnt out moms, they converge, and it's the same client. And so we say, well, you know, we can help you at work and we can help you at home. And, you know, Rick is sort of the brains behind it all, helping to figure out how.
After all of that, I'm the brains, no.
So, you know, like, which of course, like, I hope it happens very soon, like you get tons of funding. Once you do get the funding, how are you generating revenue, like, on a steady basis? Is it like a subscription-based app, or like, how does it work?
Yeah, that's the plan. Right now, it's free, so download it, go to the app stores. We just got out there a couple of weeks ago.
Right.
So download it and use it and give us lots of feedback. But yeah, eventually, you know, notwithstanding the, you know, what Ray just said about what we're trying to solve, we're still not a charity, so we need to make money. So I think it'll be a subscription app. Okay. Well, it will be a subscription app.
Right.
We're not sure on the cost per month yet and how we package it up per person, per household. Like, still a little thinking to go through that today.
It's like I don't know, like, just brainstorming over here. Like, you know how Netflix has like one person, two person family plans. Yeah. So is that like the approach that you guys are?
Yeah. Like, I mean, our initial pricing was going to be $10 per month per user, or $9.99. But and then maybe the next one in the house is $5.
Like, what's up with that? Like, what's up with the $12.99 instead of $13? Like, what's up with that?
It's a marketing thing.
Just if you say $12.99, then it's not $13. It's $12.
Yeah.
Right? It's just like a visual thing.
Is that what it is?
It is.
That's it. Yeah.
I've always like. Been
you
know,
but I think on
curious about that.
The pricing model is to be determined. Yeah. It is a subscription because we want to continue to invest and grow. Like, we have a beta out there that we've bootstrapped, and there's some glitches, but it's a made in Saskatchewan app by two kids from Yorkton who found an IT guy to start developing a product that's pretty damn good. We have over 300 users, and, you know, increasing. So the app is only as good as the number of people on it, just like LinkedIn or some of these. If I have it but I don't share it with my partner, I'm not delegating, I'm not sharing the responsibility, right? So I want Rick to have it too, because he needs to get the grocery list when he's going to the grocery store. I want my mom to have it because I want all of our family recipes to be in there, and I want her to see them and have this legacy. I want my daughter to have it because, you know, she's got a lot of details she needs to keep. So we want people to share it. So the idea is to keep the cost really low, but lots of volume, because we want to build a platform where people are communicating, delegating, sharing responsibility, and building connections. You know, like if I can send my sister's broccoli salad recipe to my daughter in Australia, awesome. They've got a new connection. So there's a lot of good social, you know, heartfelt stuff that goes into it. And yes, you know, we don't want to have ads. We don't want to increase the clutter. So we want to figure out some way to make it self-sustaining, because we probably won't get a lot of investment. And so there has to be a revenue model. But hopefully it's people see that there's so much value in this that they don't mind spending a little bit per month.
Can you text on it as well? If I want to text, like, you know, like you mentioned, like your grandma's recipe to your daughter. Like, can the grandma and your daughter text each other? Can you text your daughter? Like,
it's sent through email.
Okay.
We don't ask for a phone number.
No. Okay.
So we could, maybe you want to ask, that's more technical.
Well, I think it depends what you're asking, but you can easily share. Right now it is shared. It's shared through email in the sense that the very first time you share with someone, we don't know who they are, so they have to say, oh yeah, okay, Pranav sent me this. I accept his recipe or whatever he's sharing with me. Create your account, and now they've got what you've shared and now done. But every share after that just shows up in the app.
I see.
If you mean like an in-app chat,
exactly. Something like that.
Then that's something we're thinking about, but it would be longer. Well, there's two ways to look at that. One is like literally a chat, like within the family, instead of on WhatsApp or texting.
Yeah, because you could probably even bring WhatsApp and iMessage to your app as well. I don't know how technical it can get. Like, I'm not that smart. I'm just thinking around where my mind goes.
And integrations with existing, services are as part of the roadmap. But do you want to?
But I think we want to. Not saying that we're not considering that, but our goal is to remove clutter and keep it simple. And if you move texting and WhatsApp or whatever into the app, you just get that same problem where you're talking about something and then, like Ray said, somebody tells a joke and the chat takes off in a different direction and you lose everything. So where I would say we would do that is one of two ways. Currently in our notes, you can share a note. So you guys could have a planning note for this podcast. And you can, if you're in there typing and you're in there typing, you can both see that you're in there editing the note, right? So you can create to-do lists and other things inside that note. The other thought maybe is within a note structure like that, you might have a chat about that topic. So maybe a sports, back in the day when I was running a hockey program, maybe as a hockey team manager, I would have a shared note with everyone on my hockey team. So I've got, here's all the jersey numbers and the kids who are attached to them and all the dad and mom's phone numbers. And we're going to Saskatoon for a tournament and here's all the details for that trip and here's the booking link for the hotel room or whatever. That's all in there. And maybe there's a chat in there about that topic. Like where are we going for dinner tonight? Like who's meeting in the lobby and who's bringing beer and who's bringing pizza or whatever.
Or you say, here's the structure. The team manager sending it out at the beginning of the year has all the information you need. So you don't have to be checking your email. Oh, he's sending something out of the budget. I don't care. Where are we going for dinner? And so here you have Saskatoon. This is the rank, this is the address, this is the restaurant. So instead of the chatter, you have the result. I want to know, I need information because I need to drive somewhere. And so I think, it's streamlining so that everything's in one place and you don't have that cognitive load. And I think we have enough ways to message and chat that, this is the place where we need the information.
Right.
All right.
Good question though.
Yeah. And then, nothing's off the table and we're still thinking through a lot of things.
Trust me. Because I feel like, in my mind, I'm just thinking like, there's like so many different, possibilities that you can like integrate, but I guess comes down to like your basic why.
Right. What's the why? Right.
Yeah.
Well,
lean into it then.
Yeah, exactly.
Ask the question.
Read my mind.
Oh no.
So before we move towards the end of the podcast, I want to ask you this. So we learned this from Simon Sinek, and he says that if you want to learn about somebody, don't ask them what they do, ask why they do what they do. Right. So I want to ask you this, Rick and Ray, what's your why in life? Why do you do what you do?
For me, the excitement of back to what you said, I guess, solving problems, right? Like I get energized by that. MLC is a big and very important problem, so that's why we built it. but just solving problems, like our Wi-Fi was not working yesterday and I spent 2 hours figuring out why,
And I'm like, thank you, I would never do that.
So back to Squirrel Steve on the wall there, I saw a squirrel and I chased it, right? But
Right.
so I think that's that would be my why. It's always been that way in a sense. Like what's the answer is yes, what's the question kind of feel to things. Like you got a problem, tell me and see if I can solve it. I'm not technical, although I am. I'm not smart, and like I just want to dig in and figure out what's going on. And that I think that helped me a little bit when I was in management positions back in the day, because I wanted to solve problems, business problems and team problems or whatever. But that's probably my why, without, again, reserving the right to answer better when Ray comes up with the right answer.
Well, no, I think why is the most important question for everything that you're doing. Why are you doing it? And so I think mine has been refined over the years because when I was a young person, it's like I want to have a job and live in a nice home and have a lovely family, and okay, I had all those things. But now I've refined and niched it to say, I want to friggin' help moms like me who are drowning because no one's helping them. There's no tool for the CEO of the home. And so I've become more passionate about my why through my company, Rae, which is trying to fix the healthcare system, and MyLifeCatcher, which is trying to provide this life preserver to women who are drowning. Because nobody's fixing that problem for them, in my opinion. And it's not like we're doing this to make money off of them. We're doing this to help them thrive. And so that's my excitement, is that if we allow a mom to have a happier time raising her children and going to work and making money and all that kind of stuff, that's the most important thing.
Me too.
Ditto.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Oh, I love that. And with MyLifeCatcher, you guys are doing exactly right. You're helping moms and you're solving problem by building that app.
Well, I think that also speaks to earlier in the podcast where we come at it from different directions with the same
Goal in mind.
goal,
yeah.
right? Like maybe I'm a little more tactical and Ray's a little more strategic, right? But we're coming at the same problem.
How's that different, tactical and strategic?
I think about it more day to day, what's going to happen and need to do this, and this post should look like this, and the thing on the screen and the app should be here, and Ray's more like, that's fine. But here's what we're trying to, here's the big picture. We're solving, like she said, solving that big, what's the North Star of the company, right? Like I can answer that question, but that's not the first thing I think of when you ask, what's my why?
Yeah.
So
I feel
like
go ahead. Sorry.
Well, in his example that the Wi-Fi wasn't working, so I fixed it. I mean, I just be complaining about it, right? Phone SaskTel or whatever. I'm like,
Right.
GSD.
that is a problem, but I don't have time to think about fixing it.
Right.
But so the beauty and the synergy is that
When Ray goes like this, I jump. That's the difference between strategy and
that's
tactical.
dense for me.
That's for me.
So I built this resiliency course, and I had it online, and all these modules and PowerPoints, and they look beautiful. And he's like, well, but how, what is the structure? So he goes on my website and he creates the platform,
Right.
works with our tech guy, and he makes it happen. So I have the idea,
Right.
and I could spin and spin and spin in this idea, pontificating and journaling, but Rick makes it happen.
Yeah.
And I think everyone
Strategy, tactic.
everyone should have a Rick.
Yeah, I feel like in my mind, I feel like it seems like you got the daily checklist, like you check mark the daily stuff off,
Yeah.
and you're like the visionary.
Yeah.
Of course, you both are visionaries. I'm
Yeah,
not, like
but that's
undermining that
yeah,
thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah,
And Ray has a
awesome.
task list too, I'm sure.
I'm a better driver, but you make sure that the car has an oil change.
Right. Okay.
that's awesome.
Awesome.
Yeah,
No,
that's
orange
probably,
is
that's
all
probably
day.
true, actually.
So moving on to the final segment of our podcast.
Yeah.
So we call this the rapid fire round.
Ooh.
And Pranav's gonna ask you 3 questions. I'm gonna ask you 3 questions. You have to answer in 1 word or 1 sentence.
Oh.
You can go on forever if you like.
Ah.
But
Why did he look at you?
no.
Wow.
I didn't
Little
mean that way.
judgy.
Content.
So yeah, do you want to start us off?
Yeah, for sure. So what's one piece of advice you guys would give to your 20-year-old self?
Just do it. Like GSD. Don't overthink it. Whatever that is.
Awesome. Ray?
Be kind to yourself. It's going to be okay.
Awesome.
If you could make one rule that everybody in this world had to follow, what would that be?
Be kind to each other.
Oh shit. Yeah. Don't copy. Don't copy people.
Don't copy.
Don't take other people's jokes and make them.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think
It could be the same answer. Like I think
be
you know,
aware.
that's where
Be aware of others around you, and care for them. Take care of yourself and take care of others.
Yep.
Yeah.
How do you guys want to be remembered by? What legacy do you want to leave?
You can go first on that.
We
one.
have a slide on that.
You do?
Yeah, in our pitch deck. We thought they would change the world, and they did.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think, we really want to attack this problem of cognitive load and build strong families. And that'd be great if we were connected to that in some way. Yeah.
And for me, it's the world's greatest lover.
Oh boy.
No, it's similar. I think just knowing we made a difference. Like people look back and go, oh, they made a difference. Hopefully it's MLC, but it's something, right? We didn't just crawl under a shell and live our lives.
Yeah, you're like making an impact for, as you mentioned, like
Yeah.
busy moms, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's my favorite question. What's a favorite restaurant in Regina?
Oh.
Well, I guess we always go to Earl's,
Yeah.
right? Like that's probably the place we would go the most.
Yeah.
Is that where you guys going tonight? You said you guys are going out.
We haven't decided.
Yeah.
I think it feels more like a pub feel tonight.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
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 Have you
No,
been to
always have good food there at Earl's and
Oh,
good
100%.
environment,
Yeah.
and it's walkable.
What's your favorite restaurant?
Yeah,
Earl's.
I mean, it is. I feel like it's an easy choice.
Well, it is an easy
Yeah,
choice.
100%.
We love
Yeah.
Crave is the other one. Like we don't go there often, but
Good
when we
one.
do, we have a great
I love the
experience
steaks.
there. Yeah.
And their water. They have a special water
they?
filtration system. It's amazing.
Really?
Yeah, go there just to drink the water.
That's funny.
Yeah, drink your 8 glasses.
Don't forget to tip your waitress.
Thanks for the glass of water.
That's awesome.
It's the least I could do. Another one of our jokes.
Yeah, if I could have done less, I would have. But it was the least I could do.
See, he just explained it.
Awesome. So what are you guys most grateful for in your life right now?
For me, right, for sure. Yeah, everything changed for me when that LinkedIn message on LinkedIn, that dating app.
Who initiated it?
I did.
Okay.
It took me forever to find her because she was social media
Well,
non-existent.
I moved to a different province. I
Yeah.
changed my name.
Change your
went-
name.
Yeah, I got married and
Oh, your
changed
last
it.
name.
Last
Okay.
name.
Yeah,
Luckily,
yeah.
the first name is very
First
easy.
name is
Yeah,
unique.
Yeah.
And I wasn't on a lot of social media because I was busy,
Right.
except for LinkedIn. I had my photo. So yeah, he found me and we connected. Yeah.
You may
Yeah.
also like, and I said, oh, you're damn right. But
Yeah.
everything changed for me when Ray came into my life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Likewise. And I think, I really miss my kids because they're off and Rick's boys are in the States. And so, very grateful for a happy marriage. And we talk about, life is just lighter and brighter now, so yeah, it's good.
Okay, awesome.
Your question?
So, what's the worst piece of advice you've ever heard?
Take the high road.
Why take the high road if no one knows you're doing
I had a woman leader tell me once that it's okay to cry in a meeting if you're not getting your way. And I thought, emotions are important and they shouldn't be dismissed, but they shouldn't be used to manipulate. So I just thought that was really bad advice. I think she was giving me freedom to cry,
Right.
but the way she phrased it was that you can get, men feel sorry for you if you cry. I don't want anyone feeling sorry for me. I want to get results. So I don't think that was great advice.
I feel like it comes back to what you said previously, that how you say matters, right? So maybe she didn't phrase it in the right way.
Yeah, I was probably too critical of her.
Yeah.
Mine was the one that comes to mind is an investment. Invest in Briex, if you guys remember maybe you don't. There's a gold company in Indonesia, totally all completely false. It was fake.
There's a movie about that now.
Yeah, there's a movie about that now. But my financial advisor, I put a pretty good chunk of money in there for my time and age.
Oh, wow.
All went from that to zero in one day. Not the same day, but yeah, it was an investment thing.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Awesome.
All right.
Very different
Well-
take on the question.
No, but
Luckily,
trust
I
me.
thought of that because I haven't had a lot of bad advice.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
But trust me, guys, it's been an amazing episode. It's been awesome knowing you guys. I know Nikhil basically had a conversation with you, but it's my first time talking to you guys.
Right.
Second time. first time in person.
Yeah.
But it's been an amazing journey, amazing conversation. And we wish you nothing but the best for MyLifeCatcher or any other venture that you guys are part of, because I feel like both you together are much better.
Yeah.
And
100%.
it's gonna make a lot of you guys are gonna make a lot of impact. 100%.
Yeah. Well, thank
Okay,
you.
good.
That's really great to hear.
And
No,
you guys are
appreciate
just
it.
starting out, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, just a couple young
We're just
kids
getting
just starting.
started.
Yeah.
Oh, it's
Right?
Like
good to
Steve
see a couple
Martin.
young.
Yeah. Well,
Steve
Colonel
Martin's joke.
Sanders, Colonel Sanders started KFC when he was like 65 or something.
Oh,
That's like
so
one of the
yeah,
greatest
yeah,
companies.
yeah.
Yeah.
There's a lot of
All right. Yeah.
yeah.
But,
Okay,
yeah.
well, that-
But yeah, thank you for being on A Little Perspective. It's been a pleasure talking to you.
Awesome.
guys.
Well,
Thank
thank you
you.
guys. This has been awesome as well.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Wonderful.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Take care.
Thanks.
See you guys.